Hi, I'm Travis and this is Curious Tangents, and you will die someday. But if you are going to ride an airplane today, then you are statistically most likely to die on the ride to and the ride from the airport in your car. But more on that later. Your likelihood of death in almost any situation can be measured by a unit of risk called a micromort. Micro meaning 1 in a million and mort meaning death. For every 1 in a million chance there is of something killing you, you have 1 micromort. But this is a video about design, so let's look at teapots for the masochistic. When you look at a teapot, the intuitive thing to do is to grab it by the handle. This isn't necessarily because you were taught to use teapots in this way. It's because handles demand to be held. In the 1960s, psychologist James J. Gibson coined the term affordance. About 22 years later, user interface researcher and the author of The Psychology of Everyday Things would write, "An affordance is a relationship between the properties of an object and the capabilities of the agent. And so, buttons demand being pushed and switches demand being switched." If you've ever approached a door and not known whether or not you should push or pull, and so consequently made a fool out of yourself, as we all have done, it's probably not your fault. Some doors are designed the opposite of what is intuitive. If the handle of the door is vertical, then it's much more natural to pull that door open. But if the handle of the door is horizontal, such that you could potentially put your entire body against it, then it's much more natural to push it. But sometimes we design doors as if we didn't know that. A door is in a way a tool to get from one room to the next, but in another way, a tool that makes that room separate in the first place. Humans really love their tools. In fact, we can often think of our tools as a piece of ourselves. When we're driving a car, we don't often think that you're operating a large metallic device that weighs several thousand pounds and moves at superhuman speeds. You're just going down the road. Swordsmen were taught not to think of their swords as separate things, but as extensions of their bodies.
Weapon is an extension of yourself. You must think of it as another part of your own body.
Like a second head.
Well, more like an extra long, really sharp arm.
Your smartphone can often feel like an extension of your hand, and if you're fluent with an instrument, then it can also feel like just another part of you. When someone uses one of their tools incorrectly, the first thing that we do is question the user, but we rarely question the interface or the tool. Driving is one of the most dangerous things you will do on a daily basis in your life. There's an average of 102 crashes per day in the US, and those car accidents are not evenly distributed. You drive faster on roads that are wider and more expansive. Engineers know this, and so they purposely design highways and expressways to be open and expansive because people need to be driving quickly on them. Conversely, if the street is narrow or there are things in your periphery like street trees and buildings close to the road, like there are in many downtowns, then you tend to slow down. Going 90 through a downtown would just feel dangerous. Here in North America, we have a tendency of designing our cities around cars and not people. And while it's more enjoyable to drive on a wider street, it disadvantages people in the way that you are more likely to be in a car accident. And when those accidents happen, we oftentimes question the driver, and rightfully so. Sometimes we question the pedestrian, but we almost never question the street, even though we know that some streets are more likely to have accidents than others, even when controlled for variables like population density and usage. Part of asking good questions isn't just how obscure or unique the question that you ask is, but also the subject that you are questioning. A question that goes along with why are people being hit by cars is why are streets being designed this way? So that was kind of a short video. I have a new camera, lights, and a new microphone coming in the mail soon, so I didn't want to make something too expensive and then get much better camera equipment, because I do have a really cool project that I'm working on that's semi about dragons and semi about anthropology. That'll be super cool, and I wanted to put it off until I got the better equipment to do it justice. But anyway, thanks for watching. I have a Discord, link to that in the description, and I also have a Patreon where you can support this channel, and bye.